Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I've been flying through Amouage reviews, specifically in their library collection. I've done Silver Oud, Reckless Leather, and Rose Incense. And today, I have another one from that same library collection, and this is Royal Tobacco from Amouage. Royal Tobacco has the standard Amouage presentation, coming in a sleeve and then opening up with the fragrance sitting inside. Their bottle looks the same as the others in the collection, besides Silver Oud and King Blue, and of course, it comes with that magnetic cap. Alright, I'm going to spray myself a couple times, and I will walk you through how this fragrance acts and when you should wear it. You know, I'm actually not wearing anything, so I guess I'll just make this the scent of my day. If any of you know anything about this fragrance, you know that the amount of sprays I just put on is not going to leave anytime soon. I'm going to read the notes, but then I'm going to tell you exactly what I smell and what I think most people would smell. So the top of this includes frankincense, elemi, cardamom, anise, basil, and bergamot, followed by tobacco, licorice, lavender, prunal, fenugreek, clove, orange blossom, osmanthus, and rose in the heart notes. Then you were left with a dense base of frankincense, Peru balsam, benzoin, labdanum, myrrh, vanilla, tonka bean, birch, vetiver, gaiaquood, oud assam, and musks. If any of you are wondering if the amount of notes in this fragrance speaks to how complex it is, it really does. As this fragrance opens up, the most prominent note is a sweet and sticky black licorice. It's very dense, it's bitter, and it's very resinous and ashy. To be completely honest, this is one of the hardest fragrances to describe in my entire collection. The first thing about Royal Tobacco is that it is very resinous, and resins can act very many different ways. In this case, it acts every way that it can pretty much. It has that sweet side, it has that sticky side, it has that smoky side, it has that ashy side. It also has a little bit of a bitter edge, so this fragrance is going in every direction. If you haven't smelled this fragrance, I would say the two main things that you're going to get, especially in the opening, is a very bitter black licorice note. However, that opens alongside an extremely ashy tobacco and resin. Already, just from those things that I've described, most people would not like this scent. Being a part of Amouage's library collection, this is not mass appealing and it's not trying to be. This is more of an experimental fragrance even for the House of Amouage. I've been sitting with this fragrance after I sprayed it for about 15 minutes and I'm at a loss for words because I don't know how to describe it. That ash, that resin, that tobacco, and that licorice are all very prominent and they're not too hard to describe, but there's so much more going on in this fragrance that is impossible for me to describe. Alright, so 10 minutes later, I've been smelling the fragrance from the cap like this, trying to pick out every single detail I get, and I've come back with a few things to say. First of all, there's an herbal basil note that is extremely unique. Now, the basil in Royal Tobacco is not as prominent as the oregano note in something like the interludes. However, it offers an extremely unique experience that I haven't smelled in any other fragrance. If you guys are familiar with Silver Oud or King Blue in the House of Amouage, you know that they have a very prominent oud assam note. The oud assam that Amouage uses is a little bit fecal and animalic, and it's very smoky. Now, there is that same note in Royal Tobacco, but in this case it's hidden behind a lot of the other notes as opposed to Silver Oud where that oud assam is pushing very far. But if you are someone that's very sensitive to those ouds, you may want to watch out because this does have a touch of that animalic note. Alright, I've been smelling my wrist like this for the last 5 minutes, again trying to figure out new things to say, and I've come up with 2 more things. So as I was looking at the notes, I noticed that there was clove in the mid and vetiver in the dry down, and although I'm not totally in the dry down of this perfume yet, both of them are very noticeable as long as you sit with this perfume long enough. The combination offers a sweet spiciness and a very dark earthiness, and with all the ashiness and licorice and all the other notes that I just described, this fragrance definitely suits the demographic of men, I would say ages 30 to older. I just picked up on another note in Amouage's Royal Tobacco, and it is the note of gaiaquood. So if you don't know what gaiaquood is, it is this dry and smoky wood that is utilized very heavily in perfumes like Memoirs of a Trespasser. In this perfume, it really shines the longer it sits on your skin. What I mean by that is on the opening, Royal Tobacco is not going to smell as woody. It's going to be more of an ashy licorice perfume. But as this perfume sits on your skin, woods like gaiaquood, oud assam, and birch all come together harmoniously and offer a dry, ashy, and smoky touch to this perfume. Like Silver Oud by Amouage, Royal Tobacco was perfumed by Cécile Zarokian, and although these are not similar perfumes at all, they are a little bit similar in terms of their uniqueness, their age demographic, and the complexity of the blend. My final thoughts are that Royal Tobacco is incredible, just like all the Amouages are, especially in their library collection. As a quick recap, sweet, smoky, and resinous, woody, and a little bit earthy herbal. Best suited for dark, cold winter nights, and this is one that most people will have to sit with for many wearings before they fall in love with it. I did not like Royal Tobacco at first. I bought a 2 ml sample of Royal Tobacco about a year ago, and I wore it once, and I really did not enjoy it. It was too ashy, it was too smoky, it reminded me of Zoologist T-Rex, but in a little bit of a more wearable way. I wore it another time, kind of felt the same way, and forgot about it. And then I was kind of on an Amouage run. I was smelling a lot, and I was really enjoying a lot, and I decided to revisit my sample of Royal Tobacco, and I absolutely fell in love with it. When I revisited Royal Tobacco, I gave it 3 wearings 3 days in a row, and I decided that I really wanted to get a bottle. I've been wearing it a lot, and this is incredible. And quickly, one thing I do want to say is that although this isn't listed, a lot of people get a dark cocoa powder note in Royal Tobacco. And when I say a dark chocolate, I mean a bitter chocolate, something that has no milk, no sugar, nothing like that, just a pure cocoa powder. Now, like all fragrances in the world, and especially with the House of Amouage, Royal Tobacco is a perfume that you need to sample yourself. I can sit here for 4 hours and you could like my explanation and then smell it and think it's the worst thing ever. So go sample this if you haven't already. And before I end this video, I will give my 4 library collection Amouage fragrances a rating. As of right now, I'm going to smell all of these from the cap or Royal Tobacco on my skin. And I'm going to give you my personal rating and then my rating on what the mass appeal is. We'll save Royal Tobacco for last and we will start with Amouage's Reckless Leather. I'm not going to do a very deep explanation about these because I already have videos on them, but I will give a super short explanation on each of these just to refresh your memory if you don't remember. So Reckless Leather is a sweet oriental perfume that reminds a lot of people of curry. I absolutely love this. I would give this a 9.9 out of 10, and I would give the mass appeal a 3 out of 10. Moving on to Silver Oud from Amouage. This is an Oud Assam dominant fragrance that also has notes of castoreum and vanilla. This perfume is incredible. It's very hard to wear though, so I would give a personal rating of 9.7 out of 10. I think that's probably around the highest I could give it just because I can't wear it too often around in public. And because of that, I would have to give it about a 2 out of 10 on mass appeal. And next up we have Rose Incense. Now, Rose Incense is actually probably the most wearable from this library collection. Sugary, jammy rose, Turkish delight, powdery vanilla, ink, and resins. This thing is incredible. 9.9 out of 10. And wearability, although it's the easiest to wear, I would say it's still about a 7 out of 10, maybe a little less, like a 6.5 out of 10. And of course, what this video is about, Amouage's Royal Tobacco. My personal rating for this would be a 9.7 or 9.8 out of 10. It's an absolutely gorgeous perfume, and I would give this about a 4 out of 10 on mass appeal. With it being Amouage and also being from their experimental collection, these are not perfumes to blind buy. But I do really think that these are some of the best fragrances on the entire market right now. Thank you so much for watching. Unfortunately, these 4 are the only ones I have from the library collection. I actually bought King Blue, but long story short, something got mixed up and I got refunded and I didn't get the fragrance. However, I have a lot more Amouages to review and I have more on the way, so keep an eye out for my videos and thank you for watching.